black folks gonna be mad. Ain't no more crab fest going on. Ooh, we need a black Miss Marples investigating this one, and I'll volunteer. Peace and blessings, family. Sister Ajali, I thank you, Brother Dianu Chokwu, for sharing this article with me, which I would have run into on the usual places that I go to, but most of the information that you family send to me, I never run across it. So you are integral to getting the warning out to all of our family, because I'm just one person, but I've managed to build a platform where we can have a chance of examining these situations with knowledge and not with just, what they're infesting our minds with propaganda, so that we'll just go to the immediate answers without examining the whys, the wheres, the how-tos, and all the rest of it that a full investigation demands when you're dealing with a genocidal attack upon the entire planet. You got 1 billion snow crabs disappeared. That's what they call disappeared. They went out to get some cigarettes and they're not coming back because you wouldn't treat them right. And the researchers can't explain why. What the hell? No. I explained coming out of the congressional record in the book, Deadly Deceit, Low-Level Radiation, High-Level Cover-Up. These people are told never to speak on the real details of man-made radiation on pain of death. And Rosalie Bertell, a nuclear physicist, Dr. Rosalie Bertell, in her book, she said that they don't fund any research organization if they have the nerve to investigate what's verboten for that particular organization or all organizations. Scientists are not paid by the people. They're paid by the ones who want to be our owners. And we must fight that. When you got 1 billion crabs disappearing and, I'm going to break it down, you got to fight that. So please share my warnings. Even if you never mention me, for whatever reason, you're like, I love Sister Ajali's information, but I wish she would accept swirling. Hell no, that ain't ever going to happen. But at the same time, you succumbing to the ravages of man-made radiation, especially if you worship these white people, is more than likely when you got 1 billion crabs gone. And so this story here, I'm like, I've mentioned or gone over this before. Because that's the snow crabs. I had done a story on the channel they took down about the Dungeness crabs, their season. And this is all happening on the West Coast. Where does it say? On the West. Dungeness crab faces uncertain future on the West Coast. And this was worth nearly 170 million in Washington, Oregon, and California in 2015. Okay? 2014. So this is right after Fukushima. You can't get more obvious with this stuff than that. But I have to keep warning us because they're real people who are going to succumb inevitably to the ravage of man-made radiation. And we do ourselves what they hope we'll do is a grave misdirection when we just assume certain things. And I'm not mad at you for assuming that, because we've all been guided to embrace their lies. I just was talking with one of my favorite sister friends, and she knows about Fukushima because we're actual real life friends, and she's seen me speak on this for over 10 years. And she said there's no news about anything that's happening with Fukushima whatsoever, even though they were supposed to dump the tritium water into the Pacific Ocean. You don't hear anything about it because they already dumped it. Well, as soon as it started collecting it, they were dumping it because those vessels were screwed together by hand wrenches and there's no lining inside those thousands of containers where they're supposed to be holding this water. And then there was more radiation by the hundreds of tons each day pouring into the Pacific Ocean. I remember when this article came out, Sailor's Discovery, the ocean is dead. And this was back in 2013, just 2.5 years after, right? And he described what he was seeing in his yearly yacht trip across the Pacific. He just said there were whales that were just had a big giant tumor and they want to say it's the plastic, but the plastic is everywhere. Same thing with the chemtrails, same thing with the jab. I know them crabs didn't go up and get a jab, and I know they didn't succumb to the ravages of some pathogen that we with lungs would be afflicted by in any way, shape, or form. So no, it ain't the plastic, okay? And plastic, by the way, is inert. It's not going to travel with its poisons the way that radiation does. I've shown the trajectory maps of how the world has been slathered. I've shown the nuclear test ban treaty just article where they said they found Fukushima radiation all over the daggone planet within weeks. Okay? So this dude, he was just like, yep, the ocean was dead. And this was only 2 years later. Now, this is Dana Durnford's site, and I'm going to go back to where I was before, but this is Dana Durnford's site, the nuclear proctologist. And this dude, he don't like me. I don't like him either. But I'm just saying, it's only one planet, okay? So this dude bought himself, he was a captain of a sailing vessel. He bought himself a little boat and traversed British Columbia so that he could document the die-off. And what I find interesting is they took his channel down too. This is a white dude talking about Fukushima. That's all he went over. All. Right? And I think he had about 10,000 subscribers. But his channel, they took down because they're doing a whole new campaign to resurrect the reputation of man-made radiation because they need that stuff. They need that stuff, right? So he's got exacting photos according to the exact position of what was taken years before in the tidal pools and what he captured the way it is now. And he's gone out 3 separate times. And the life isn't coming back. Starfish ain't coming back. Okay? All those things the crabs ain't coming back. The pilot whales, this is a brand new breaking stories. They ain't coming back. 500 whales, they're already dead. They're not likely to die. They're dead. And the pictures they show always very, very tame, okay? They only show a couple. But at the same time, this has happened twice within just weeks, recent weeks. And the birds in that area and all over at this point in time are starving to death. That's what they say, the whales. And it's not just the pilot whales. It's the gray whales. It's the northern whale. It's all of them. Okay? It's the orcas. They're starving to death. It's not that they have plastic stuffed in their guts. And as I said, there's plastic all over the daggone place. It's that they're starving to death because what microflora used to feed them, the phytoplankton, they're dead. Okay? And the phytoplankton are responsible for producing a full 1/5 of the oxygen we breathe. And the radiation ain't gonna stop there. It hasn't, because it's already moved to the Atlantic to a lesser extent, but still obliterating. And so this dude here, Gray or something or other, one of them names I don't remember, but he was a participant on a show called The Deadliest Catch, and it wound up being literal for all of the crew that were manning these boats, right? Deadliest catch, deaths and tragedies. I mean, these dudes, now some of them die from accidents because what they do is actually really, really dangerous. Those waters that they were in the Northern Pacific are notoriously choppy. And so there were lots of boating accidents, but inexplicably, about half of the ones in this list here, they went out from all the things that radiation causes. Heart attacks, strokes, mysteriously just dropping dead. And we got the same things happening to Black us. But because this whole thing is a setup, it's been set up for decades, where they knew they had to get us so friggin' hypochondriacal that we assume, and those crabs must have shown up for that, thing that you would have lost your job if you didn't get, and is still censored, so you can't do a full investigation. I can't be a full Miss Marples up on here. And so that we could know the death is on your plate. You have to specifically target the man-made radiation. You can't just eat healthy even. You have to get that stuff out of your body because it'll build up in the most, natural, healthy eater there is. Okay? So these dudes, they're gone. That one I showed the picture. That was Nick Gloshin, whatever. He took a serious fall, but then later on, he dropped dead suddenly. Okay? From mysterious causes. And so I want to show you, I might have showed you this before, but how they lie about the deadliness of Fukushima. Even right in Fukushima forestry industry still haunted by nuclear meltdown. This whole thing the title is to get you to pay attention, like, ooh, they're going to tell something really obliterating. But then you read and hear that they're making fun of the people who do know better, where this dude was they're trying to resurrect the reputation of Fukushima. When I showed that when they tested the soil itself, they found that it still has the same level of radiation as what was determined to be in it, that convinced them to evacuate 160,000 people. You don't evacuate that many people because it's safe, okay? And so there's all sorts of mutations that are only increasing throughout Fukushima. And Fukushima, Japan even got the lesser amount of radiation compared to what swept over through the air currents to the US and Canada, and eventually circumnavigated the entire globe. Okay? And so here, one of the people who was working with this forester said, don't drop anything with radiation. And Kanagawa said he felt the deep-rooted mistrust among residents about the effect of the nuclear disaster. I was shocked to know some people were still thinking that way. Wow. And look at what they test. He's using his proof. Airborne radiation levels in the prefecture's forest rose immediately after the nuclear disaster. Right? But the average radiation levels at 362 sites in the prefecture was at 0.1 microsieverts per hour in the year beginning 2020, down by 80% from the level in the year through March 2012. He's talking about the damn air. The air. Radiation particles are heavy. Ask the crabs. Ask the crabs if them suckers don't float down. Because that's where the crabs live. That's their environment. They suck up all the crap that comes down from the top. Okay? And so when they had the monitors all throughout Japan, they put them up. They put them on a big giant pole and were taking readings from the air. From the air. No, that's where you're going to find the least amount. That's why I showed all them horrifying mutations. Right here, okay? These are happening in Canada and the U.S. to the deer population because they're out there just sticking their noses in every single little down on the ground spot where they could graze and get their food, and they are consuming massive quantities of radiation. I did another story about all the critters, including Fido and Fluffy, who are dying. There's a massive increase in cancer rates amongst people's pets. And they're indoors a little bit. But when you take them outside, thank goodness you take them outside, they're going to sniff and snort around all the places that you and I, we wouldn't. But we're still going out. I'm just saying, when I talk about my book, Furnace of Affliction, it's not an advertisement. It's a rescue. Because here you have, and this was posted just recently, they're predicting a global epidemic of cancer among people younger than 50 could be emerging, right? No. It started off in California. This, they call it flaccid myelitis, when they were saying, well, it's not polio, but it's polio-like. And then I just put all the data together, better than Miss Marples ever would, showing that the sailors on the USS Ronald Reagan also suffered from sudden onset of paralysis. That's what the flaccid myelitis is, and it all began in California. Okay? No place else, so same thing. The cancer rates were escalating on the West Coast, first and foremost. I don't know how many pictures I've shown of the sea lions. They're just stacked like cordwood, dead as a doornail. This is why in 2014, the World Health Organization predicted there'd be a 70% increase in cancer over the next 20 years. They know, all right? Just once again, let me emphasize that date, 2014. I don't know when they're going to remove this article, but I know it's got to be on the chopping block. So share my warning, family, far and wide, because I'm not just coming to throw fear around. I'm coming to throw a lifeline. It's that simple. Support your soldiers on the battlefield. Otherwise, we're all in trouble. I love you. Straight black family pride, and we's good. Whether we have any more crab at the family reunion or not. If we have life, we have everything. Peace and blessings.